All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome back to Honey Badger Arcade's Weekend Culture. My name is Brian. I'm here with John, the problematic white guy, and we're going to be bringing you guys some, delectable cultural news, I guess, and like our thoughts, our ever expanding ideas, etc. So, welcome to the show, everybody. And hi, John. How are you doing?
Oh, awesome as always. Just like I was saying right before the show started, I've been playing Death Stranding to no end. The director's cut, the
Yeah.
first edition. Yeah, first one.
You're having a
Uh,
good time on that?
yeah. If I could only ever play one game for the rest of my life, it would more than likely be Death Stranding.
Really?
Although yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
more than like a Metal Gear game.
Well, see,
Like,
that's the thing. That's the thing. I
it
haven't
is a
had a
Metal Gear
chance to.
game, isn't it?
It is a Metal Gear game, and that's the
Yeah.
thing most people don't understand. Like, that's my take on it. I have this weird kind of philosophy about the whole thing about how it's kind of like a battle world kind of because it. If you even start to look into some of the stuff that was going on with Metal Gear Survive, there's actually some interesting parallels between Metal Gear Survive and Death Stranding. But
Yeah.
I won't take us on a deep tangent for that. That is what my show Death Streaming will be about whenever I get around to
Oh, all
actually being
right.
able to do it.
Well, I'm
So
looking forward to that. We'll see.
yeah,
Because, yeah, I'd be interested to get your side of it. I know you're a big Metal Gear fan. And I
yeah,
know I have another guy who I consider a friend I used to have on the show regularly. His name is Max Darrett, or at least that's his YouTube name. And
right.
he did a really, really good video that caught my eye on Metal Gear Solid 2.
Right.
And it was a really good video, and I was blown away by his like, that he like sort of broke it down and like what it's about and stuff. And
Yeah.
so yeah, ever since then I reached out to him, and then he used to be on our show. This was like during the old Gamergate days, and yeah, so now it's like we're kind of coming full circle. So
Yeah, yeah.
we're
You
gonna
have to
be.
send me that video sometime.
I
I'd
will,
be
yeah,
interested to take a link.
definitely. He's done a
So,
lot of videos on Metal Gear. I think he's
yeah,
doing a playthrough of Metal Gear Solid Delta right now,
right.
Snake Eater,
I'm
and
trying, but
yeah, you're having some issues with it.
yeah, we'll get into that when we get into the actual
Yeah, yeah.
topic. But yeah,
But like, it's interesting that you mentioned if you could only play one game for the rest of your life, because that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about this, like, well, it's not like a new thing, but it's monogaming or mono
hmm
gamers, which I'm not going to spoil it right away. We'll get into it. It's kind of an interesting thing because it is going to affect the industry and our culture in some way.
yep.
Hard to say whether that's good or bad just yet, but it's definitely a thing, and it's actually a thing that's been going on for a little while. Mastergoa, Saltpeter Taffy, welcome to the show, Norwegian Black Templar. Mastergoa says MGS2 is amazing for its politics. Yeah, that's kind of
Indeed.
where that's what Max Starrett found about it, and also it's a bit
It would have
prescient
been even
because of the
more
AI.
amazing. It would have been even more amazing had 9/11 not happened because it actually that was the original ending of the game was that there was going to be a plane
Oh,
crashing into the
really?
walls. Yeah, yeah, it's
Whoa, that
freaking
is way too
spooky.
prophetic. That is
Right,
way too prophetic. Wow. That's like,
right,
how The Simpsons predicts reality. That's crazy.
right.
Um,
It's kind of the same thing
but
with Death Stranding because right before COVID came out was when the game released, and then it's about this whole thing about like people being stuck indoors and just kind of separate, and everybody has to interact through screens and all this kind of stuff.
yeah,
And I don't know. I'm a believer in the multifaceted state of reality, so I think that on some level, like that's kind of what the term "The Shining." I think that's
yeah,
kind of to some degree where it comes from is that we all have like these aspects of our one eternal soul that is just we're like jigsaw puzzles. We're in the multifaceted states of reality, and so like this physical avatar is still connected to my one ultimate soul, kind of like the Tower of Babel, but in a much more weird kind of metaphysical sense. And so I feel
hmm,
that as people kind of die, your soul energy collects, but when you're sleeping in dreams and things like that, you can kind of get
right, yeah,
elements of what's going on in the wider scheme of this power play that's going on in all these multifaceted states of reality. So I think that there's some people who kind of have precognitive powers because they're kind of just tapped in on a deeper level. So, but anyway, that's getting all too wushu. It's
yeah.
at 11 a.m.
All right, so let's get before we waste. Let's not waste any time. Let's get into the
Indeed.
stories. This one's going to be a little bit less about happenings and a little bit more about like some speculation, some theorizing, and contemplating on like the state of things. I'm just going to read some more chat real quick. Robert
Indeed.
Johnson says, the old one Roblox app has consistently more concurrent users than Steam problem. Yes, that is kind of like what we're talking about to some degree. And then Limey Pam, hello Limey Pam, says, hello Brian, many streamers are stating destruction of gaming via wokeism. So sad to see. Well, I mean, I'm not a believer in the tarot, but in the tarot, there's a card called death, and people usually associate that with something negative or fatalistic, which makes sense considering the name of the card. But death in the tarot is actually just about change, and I think that the gaming industry won't die, but it will change, and maybe some would say, I think there's a guy who I watch a lot. His name is Jonathan Pajot. I had him on my show once as a guest. He's an icon carver, and he always says that we have to hit the bottom in order to like come back up. You have to bounce off the bottom,
Right.
and that's sort of like related to what I say when I say like how things are going. I say, well, once there is enough suffering, then people will react. Sometimes there's a delayed reaction to the suffering, but usually with enough suffering, people will react. That's sort of like bouncing off
Right.
of the bottom. So
Yeah, because truly, most people do not just make a change out of their own volition. It's usually people will go kicking and screaming into change because it's the absolute fundamental. People are comfortably numb, generally speaking, and your pathways are set in your mind and everything like. And so, for you to actually be able to have the wherewithal does involve some degree of suffering and no other way to avoid actually making said change. Because I mean, look at all these narcissistic habitual liars, and that are just like they're pathological and things like that. Like they can't change because just the way they're set, unless they have a complete fundamental undermining of the ground that they stand on. So then they just have to find a new path because they can't stay on the one that they're currently comfortable traveling on. So it's definitely an aspect of it for sure.
All right, so let's get into this. First, I did want to talk to you because you did get Metal Gear Solid Delta, right? Did you get somebody buy it for you, or did you buy it yourself?
Yeah. Same friend who got me Death Stranding went and we were doing the playthrough on WTF Live on Tuesday because Will got a copy of it. He got the advanced copy.
Sweet. Is that like the $80 one?
One of his viewers picked him up the digital deluxe, and so we, instead of doing the news show that day, we just went through and checked out. We did the Virtuous mission, so the first 2 hours of the game, and he didn't have any issues with it on his playthrough or anything like that. And,
what was he playing on? PC?
Yeah. He's got a custom build. Nothing great. He was just playing at medium spec. Still looked beautiful for what we saw of it. And he didn't have any kind of issues, slow down or anything. It was solid. And solid snake, you could say. But when he was playing through it towards the end, I had mentioned something about how I was going to probably have to wait to pick it up unless someone went and was kind enough to just go and get me a copy of the game. And before the end of the stream, my friend, he got me the standard edition. So I didn't have advanced access, and I had to wait till the day of release to get it. But a free game is a free game nonetheless. I'm not gonna cry about that. And and if I do want to pay for the DLC, since I didn't have to pay the $70, $15 to make a game complete, is not the worst thing.
What is the DLC like? What do you get?
It's just a whole bunch of new costumes and things like that. And maybe
but the costumes in this game matter. They're not just
right.
Aesthetics. They're like camouflage, right?
Right. And so there are some that are a little bit more advanced. Like how you got the crocodile hat in the game. They
Oh
actually
yeah,
have
yeah, yeah. Right. Yeah.
yeah, they have a full-blown crocodile suit as one of the DLC ones. So that one would probably be the most beneficial piece of kit that is
So it's
on
camouflage for like the
offering.
swamp areas or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
So it's not
so
like the
I
chicken hat on Metal Gear Solid 5
no.
that you. Yeah. Okay.
No, no, they do have well, the early unlock, if you bought the game ahead of time, was the white tuxedo, but that is quite literally one of the in-game rewards.
Mm.
So you can do like a James Bond run where you're in the jungle dressed to the nines, and and it's got like
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
yeah, it's got terrible camouflage, but you get
I
like
mean, the
hello
MGS games are
boost
kind of James
rankings.
Bondy, like they have like that theme that runs through it. Like there's a
Mhm.
girl in every one of them, and there's like this music. So
Right. Well, I
anyway,
mean,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Solid Snake back in Metal Gear Solid, he's a CIA operative. And so like there's
Yeah.
always this weird thing like when you're playing through Metal Gear, like you're playing as a character who is the protagonist, but are they actually the hero? That is far more convoluted than you. And the more you get
I see
into
what you mean.
the story of Metal Gear throughout the entire 100 years that it spans, it's more than like because we haven't even seen the beginning of Metal Gear. That happened
Yeah.
back in like the 19th century. And so when you're playing through, you start to pick up these little things because, as I was saying, if I can only play one game, it'd be Death Stranding. But I have yet to play through Metal Gear Solid V, which is it's not even Metal Gear Solid 5. V is 5, right, in Roman numerals, but V kind of makes this reference to Metal Gear Solid Venom, which is kind of how Raiden came in during Metal Gear Solid 2, and the game is about a completely different character. And
Uh-huh.
there's this whole thing where there's people with cognitive dissonance. They want Snake so much, they love Big Boss so much, and all this kind of stuff. When you play through Metal Gear Solid V, a lot of people's big issue with it is that David Hayter doesn't do the voice work. But when
Yeah.
you actually realize that the game is about a body double and it's a clone,
Right. You're
and
not
you're
actually
not
Snake. That's
right,
why
right. So it actually
you're
has a
Kiefer
reason.
Sutherland instead. Yeah.
Right, right. So yeah, Metal Gear's
Yeah.
a wonderful series. Like
They love messing with people in those games. But okay,
yeah.
so they got you a game, but you haven't been able to get it to work. Is it like on your
No.
Steam Deck? Is that the
Yeah, yeah,
issue?
yeah.
Or
To be fair, it is currently listed as not supported on the Steam Deck. Now, what happened was, so this I think I could have played it, but I was going through the install process, and they gave me an option to zoom out the screen size, and I accidentally like hit the button too fast. So I was like, "Fuck it, let me try to fix it." And when I was changing the size resolution, I bumped it up to 4K, the size of my screen. And so ever since then, it's been just doing this loop lock. So I'm thinking that I have to probably just I have to wait till I've got time off today.
factory
And
reset the game, I guess, go to back to defaults and
right,
then
right. Well, yeah, because it's either well. See, that's the thing is like I installed it and I reinstalled it, and every time I've done this like 2 or 3 times, but it's some kind of actual configuration file now that I have to find within the Linux, which is a pain in the ass.
ah
And so I had to figure out how to either do that or I have to completely wipe my Steam Deck and I don't want to do that. So, I'm just trying to
yeah.
figure out the best way. So I'm hoping that it's either that or if I just start it in game mode, that it will auto default back, but I have to like, get out of the OS mode and all this kind of stuff. So I've got an idea, but my issue I can't necessarily put on the game itself. Like mine's kind of more of a user error,
Hmm.
inadvertently putting it into this thing. But there are unfortunately, as nice as it is to look at, and it is nice to look at, there not everything is what we would necessarily want it to be. But in 2025, honestly, I think this was better than any of us ever expected to get. So there are some things we can talk about that are a little bit.
Yeah, I want to no, I want to
Yeah.
hear the things because I've seen mostly positive. So
Yeah.
first of all, asking you guys that are watching, I don't know if like you picked up the game or if it's something you're interested in. Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater. Originally, when I heard they were remaking it, I was cautiously optimistic. Like I was like, oh, that would be nice, but it's the
Right.
current year. Like, what are they gonna do? This is sort of like when they remake movies or whatever, right? Or when they
Mhm.
do there's been a lot of remakes, not just in film, but in video games. Like they will give you like, remasters of games. And you have to ask yourself sometimes, like, is this something we really want? Because those have been kind of hit or miss. Like you got They remastered Medieval. I guess it didn't really do that well in terms of like sales. Maybe it was a little bit too niche or obscure. They've remade Crash Bandicoot, which was actually pretty good. I picked it up. They remade Spyro. I think there was Gears of War just got remade again. I think there was like a remake from a while back, and then they remade it again.
Yeah, now
and
it's
I've
available
heard,
on PlayStation.
yeah, it's on PlayStation 5. Like they did like what do you call it? Cross releases where like the PlayStation exclusive Helldivers 2 was released on Xbox, and then the Xbox exclusive Gears of War rebooted or whatever it is, was released on PlayStation 5. And but yeah, I mean, like there's like, you hear mixed things, you don't know how it's going to be, but overall, like some of the stuff that sounds really promising is that like all of the the original voice acting is there, all the original motion capture for the cutscenes is there, I guess all the original animations. It's just getting like a graphics overhaul, basically,
in a new engine.
Yeah, and a new engine and some like different, like it's a different I guess you could say the gameplay is altered because it doesn't have the top-down view.
But it actually even still includes that stuff too. You could just literally play it at old school controls, old school visuals, with better renderings. But I'd say this is like 95-97% on point. And because last year, earlier in the year, Konami did their re-release of Silent Hill 2, right? And I would say
Silent Hill 2,
and I would say this is actually a better remake in that effort. Konami is on something of a redemption arc, it seems, but
trying to, because they were doing pachinko machines for a while, right?
But much like Silent Hill 2, for the most part, was good. There were they did kind of uglify up, the chick, and also the fog got removed. And the fog is one of the most, I mean, it's not just atmospheric in the sense of, just the game ambiance. It is literally the character of the game. So so that was kind of, to me, a big omission. And at least with the character model, someone modded that out. But here with MGS Delta, the big hubbub that people are having is obviously it hasn't been completely optimized, because putting things out for PC, I was talking about this earlier in the week. Unfortunately, and as annoying as this is, and it is infuriating, because the state of gaming is what it has become over the course of the last 20 years, where you have a marketing cycle in parallel to development. Whereas games used to be so niche, you would make your game, you'd get it completed, and then you'd start marketing it after you had done the thing. For the most part, there were some things that were a little bit more pressed, but they generally, they were iterative builds and things like that, and so it wasn't. So now, it's one of those things where, because the nature of the environment, it is hard to get all your stuff optimized day zero and get it out the door 100% complete. So I'm willing to give them a little bit of wiggle room on that, as infuriating it is, because it's just kind of the state of things. However, in the days since it's come out, they had to pay the DEI tax to some degree. When the game starts, they have a disclaimer basically saying this game's from 20 years ago, so it might offend your sensibilities. And then Ava has probably had the most dramatic kind of omissions, because
the character of Ava.
So she's still, got her boobs out and everything, which is nice. But when you go to her pause screen, her X-ray injury screen, they removed the jiggle physics on her, and so like, right. So that is probably the biggest omission of any actual game content that didn't get put into it. So, but the character model looks fine. But there is the missing animation and the missing feature. So perhaps somebody who's adept enough in modding will be able to, much like Silent Hill 2, bring those things back into the game, because the DEI tax had to be paid, so they couldn't be quite the fully robust release that they could have been. So, but for the most part, it's as faithful of a modern adaptation that you can get without playing for the modern audience. The biggest shifts that I've noticed is they kept the original voice recordings for in-game conversations. They did, however, make a new rendition of the song Snake-Eater. They still have the same woman singing it, but she's 20 years older. So it's not quite as brassy as it used to be. It still sounds great.
Yeah, I
But
got the scene pulled up here. Hold
yeah,
on. I'm gonna share it. This is from Sankaku Complex, and
yep,
they up on the top. I think you have the original, and on the bottom is
hmm
the okay.
yep. Yeah, just a little bit more plasticine now.
Kind of nitpicky, but I guess that it's not really that different.
Right.
But there are some like some changes, I guess. And it was like the X-ray thing that you talked about as well.
Yeah.
And I think that I think that we should try to be a little bit like, I don't know, reasonable, because I think that you can get a little bit spurred out, like combing through every frame to make sure it's exactly
Right.
the same.
Right.
I don't think that really it's helpful.
Right.
If you like it, then go for it, right? And I think that most people are happy with it, and also it's exposing like a kind of a new generation of gamers to the game franchise, because
Right.
you think about it, and we're gonna get into this with the next story. Like that game came out in 2000 and what, 4 maybe?
2000. Yeah, it's 21 years old. 2004. Yeah.
2004. And so like you got people who are teenagers now that weren't even alive when the game came out, and they're like getting it, they're playing it now. And one of the I think one of the benefits of that is that young gamers will see what games used to be like, because they're not likely to try something old,
Right.
even though you can get it now or whatever. They'll be like, oh, that looks like an old game. And because gameplay itself has changed a lot too,
hmm
I think that they're more likely to try this stuff. And I think that's good, because
Yeah.
it just, it's wild that when you think about it, like gaming was very peak around that time. Like there was
Yeah.
a period, I remember the during the PS2 years when I had a PlayStation 2, there was a year in particular, and I don't remember which one it was, but I remember a particular September, it was like a fall, and there were
Yep.
so many games. There was a Devil May Cry game. There was a bunch of games coming out at the same time. Like, I can't get all of these.
Yeah.
There's no way I can play all these games, but they were a
Yeah.
bunch
The
of
early
like
2000s
smash
to
hits.
there was like a 10-year period that was the golden age of gaming, and
It was
a lot of that.
everything was peak, right?
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah.
And it was one of those things, because like that's when I was in art school. I started in the end of 2004, and when I got into the game design program proper, that was the first time I heard the term narrative design. And as I say many times on the show, you can't spell DEI, or you can't spell narrative design without DEI, and that was the proto form of what would ultimately go into everything. And so I remember just sitting there in class, just like when we started talking about the concepts of it, and how all this stuff was going to be basically widget based, and so they could focus more on stories about the human condition and like using middleware, and I was livid. I'm here surrounded by a whole bunch of people who were like 5-6 years younger than me, because I was in my mid-20s when I went into art school. And I already had my associates, so I'm just kind of like, what the fuck is all this? This is madness, And everybody, oh, John, just being crazy with the conspiracy theories and all this, but you could tell right then and there, like had that stuff not happened, had the indoctrination center not taken hold, because prior to Savannah College of Art and Design, there was really only Digipin, right? And then SCAD became, it was considered the best game design school to go to during the years that I was there, because but the reason for that is, once you actually realize that it was an indoctrination center, it was all about the inception and trying to get people, caught up in the enchantment and the allure of going to this place, so that you could be indoctrinated to identity politics and all this kind of fuckery. So, it's like whenever we talk about award shows and I'm like, it's stealth marketing, yeah, that's the college that I went to, was the place where a lot of the fuckery that is in the game industry now, kind of emanates from. There were other places, obviously, as well, but it was the crown jewel of indoctrination centers, as far as it applies to digital arts and things like that. So yeah, they were more focused on teaching us to kiss ass and go to GDC and climb the greasy pole than they were to actually do anything about using game engines and just focusing on the design concepts, everything like that. We would have conversations about these things, but it wasn't build a game, build another game, build another game. It was just theoretical bullshit and make really nice business cards. So that is, to me, where kind of gaming went off the rails, and now we deal with what we deal with. And so it is nice that these newer this newer generation is going to be able to see games before it became completely compromised, if not outright corrupted. And most of the reviews for Metal Gear, specifically to get us a little bit more back on topic, have been really positive, except for certain outlets, and they're exactly who you think. I read Rolling Stone's review of it, and yeah, they're like, it doesn't try enough, it doesn't do anything new and different. It's just, it's like, that's the point, motherfucker.
Nobody wants it. Yeah, no, I heard. Yeah, I remember them saying, well, it would be nice if they made if they surprised us with something. But it's a remake. The people who are going to buy the remake want the game as it was.
Right.
So, all right. But so, yeah. So I'm hearing like some people are poo-pooing it because, they think it's a cash grab, and it's like, you don't have to buy it. Like, I mean, and I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm just saying, like, it can't be a cash grab if it's actually like something that people want, and if you don't want it, you don't have to get it, and it's okay. And I think that there's just a lot of like cynicism around the industry in general, and that's the thing that I want to, like, I don't want to fight it per se, but
it's good to be objective and not.
I'm more of an optimistic person, in general about that stuff.
Right.
And I don't think it's disrespecting the franchise. That's important, but it's also not necessarily, at least I don't believe it's trying to weaponize nostalgia necessarily. I think there are people who played the original, they probably have the original. I still have it. I have the PS2 version, and I can play it whenever I want,
Yeah.
But like, if I wanted to see how it would look with like the latest engine and maybe a slightly different approach to gameplay, I don't really see a problem with it. So
right. And people do have a tendency, they can be a little bit too sycophantic, especially as it applies to Hideo Kojima and Metal Gear as a whole, and I love Hideo Kojima is the closest thing we have to a Hitchcock in the gaming industry. He is an auteur. The things that he does, or maybe more like Stanley Kubrick, might actually be a better comparison, because like all the symbolism and the stuff that he puts in there and things like that, like, what are you watching? There's elements of kind of like a David Lynchian kind of mindset.
I was gonna say, what about David Lynch?
yeah, exactly. So like he's kind of like this weird crossbreed between the three of them, because there is even references to being dreamers within dreams, and the constant kind of breaking the fourth wall about how like you're just in a simulation, and like you're not really Snake, and all this kind of stuff. So there is, and I think that's, some people are coming at this from a very weird kind of emotional basis of, they're like, well, they're just trying to do this game as a cash grab so they can figure out how to bring back Metal Gear. And it's like, yeah, but there's an actual story Bible. Like I said, the story goes on. It's 100 years plus of actual story that's in there. When Metal Gear Rising came out, Revengeance, Hideo Kojima was just executive producer on there, and maybe did a little bit of consulting here or there, right? So he himself would say, I don't want to be constantly making Metal Gear forever. That's part of the reason why they keep having the shifting narrative on who you're playing as, because people have like this weird kind of attachment, and believe me, Solid Snake is a awesome fucking character. Big Boss, also really great character. But there are some people, like when the Kiefer Sutherland thing happened with Metal Gear Solid V, they were just so up in arms and just wanted to be like, well, Kojima's just a star fucker and he just wants to be in Hollywood. And what could this actually have to do with the game? And then you kind of, years later, if you ever even have the willingness to actually say, well, what was that game about that I didn't play? What's the narrative in it? It's because I got all the
Yeah.
way through Ground Zeroes, and I was loving what I was getting in Ground Zeroes. Unfortunately, when Metal Gear Solid V came out, that was during the dying days of my failed marriage. So I just kind of got caught up in one thing after another, never really got a chance to play it properly. I owned it, you know, and I had full intentions to, but now years later, I'm like, oh, I really need to get into that because there's probably some stuff there. And it
Yeah.
actually predicted the censorship culture that we're going through. It's about language being weaponized and all this kind of, like, there's all so many things that are going on inside of Metal Gear as a series that speak to the actual human condition and, like, you know, these weird kind of you know, aspects of society. uh
Hmm.
Metal Gear Solid 2, before memes were like really full blown, like, what is a meme, they told you exactly what a meme was in Metal Gear Solid 2 back in, like, what, 2001. So, you know, like, it has always had this weird kind of way of being right on the pulse of everything. If you really want a better understanding of what lies beyond the surface of things and how what you see might not necessarily be anything more than what you perceive rather than how it actually is, it's really good in that. But and even just kind of playing with the audience the way that it has, you know, there is kind of, I think, to some degree, you know, people can get too caught up in their scene, as it were, which is another one of the themes it gets to, where, you know, you see this character as being sacrosanct and they could do no wrong. And
Yeah.
so if anything kind of, you know, deviates from that, even to a degree, they just, you know, like, even Hideo Kojima himself, like I said, got run over by the fans because why isn't David Hayter there? And it's like, well,
Hmm.
there's a, maybe trust the guy who's doing the thing. They're like, no, he's the same voice actor who does Solid Snake all throughout the series, and the Japanese version is still there. It's like, yeah, but in Japan, like, they probably, you know, that guy is well established there, and that's what it is. But here, there might actually be, because Metal Gear, for all intents and purposes, even though it is an Eastern game, is about, you know, a Western, you know, storyline, and so all that kind of stuff. So the actual main story in Metal Gear is not the Japanese version. They make a Japanese version of it, but it
Yeah.
is made for a Western audience. So that's kind of
Yeah.
where you have to. But again, it's one of those things where people can get too caught up in, you know, their feelings about it rather than actually trying to appreciate it for
Oh, for
what
sure.
it's actually
But I mean,
about.
like I said, yeah, I think it's gonna. I mean, you know, it seems like people overall are enjoying it, and it's good to see that. I'm a bit wary of remakes in general because I
Yeah,
do think it can be a lazy way to, you know, create content. But
right,
if it's done right and and you're getting a new sort of audience to experience it, I think that has value. So because
right,
I think it's about like almost like preserving like these cultural milestones, you know.
right.
But anyway, it's almost like back in the day when Disney, before we had like DVDs and streaming and services and all that, Disney used to do this thing where every so many years they would re-release one of their classics in
Right,
theaters,
right,
and they would they would call it taking it out of the vault to like show it in theaters for a while, and then they made it like a timed, it was almost like you only had so much time to go to the theater to watch it. And it was
right.
really, at the time, we didn't have other ways, but it had like, there was something special about it because it created a kind of um I don't know, you could say like everyone was there for that,
Yeah,
right? So when you went and
it
saw,
was more of a
and these were like
cultural event.
yeah, they were cultural events. So everybody was there for that. And so we don't have that anymore because everybody can get everything now at the, you know, on their phone
It's ubiquitous. Yeah,
instantaneously. So we got to do it in new ways. And I think that is, I think there's an advantage to that. Like they did an HD remaster of the original Warhammer 40K Space Marine, and I'm not going to get it because I have the anniversary edition on Steam. But it does, again, for people who loved Space Marine 2 that didn't even know about the original, they can go back and play the original now. You know. So anyway, I'm going to read some of your comments. We're going to move on to the next story because we're going to talk about monogaming, which is kind of interesting. So let's see. First, we got some here from, let me see, Limey Pam says, I am staying safe in my favorite games. Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen. Did you start that yet? And Dragon's Dogma 2. I am old, 73. Hard for me to adjust to extreme change. I have not started Dark Arisen yet because I am still playing Dragon's Dogma 2 right now. But I also got hooked into something else, and we're gonna talk about that during the cake section. That I gotta like tell you guys, it's pretty awesome. But we'll come back to that. But thank you for the comment. Roadkill says, "Hail, hail, Roadkill. What's up?" Master Goa says, "Metal Gear Solid 3 is the beginning of Metal Gear." Yeah, if you want to play it in like chronological order.
Yeah,
and that's what I was thinking too. Is that this could be maybe they could start remaking all of them.
that is the endeavor to some degree.
The plan?
That is, if this sells well, because they even said as much that it's like how do you go into Metal Gear without actually getting everybody, completely inundated with the lore? And so I think that what they're trying to do is because if you're not going to have Hideo Kojima there to actually oversee every little nitpicky, because like I say, there's these little details that you look at years later and it's like, oh, okay, so I guess that was actually intentional. And so I think what they're trying to do is to actually get a through line with all the new developers to actually understand them. And so, yeah, I'm interested in doing a chronological playthrough after I get done doing my stuff with Death Stranding. That's actually what I'm intending on doing right now. And I think that is ultimately their plan, is if they can make a chronological progression, then they'll know the story. And so it will give them more, kind of ability to actually, if it extends beyond, these 5 or 6 titles that kind of go and encompass, well, actually 7, when you really think, because Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake are also part of that same timeline and everything.
They are.
Yeah, so they could easily take care of the next 15, 20 years just doing Metal Gear.
Yeah, if they do it, if they pull it off. So somebody in the vertical says, "Why vertical, Idaho Mike?" Actually, it's to get your attention. But if you want to watch this horizontally, just click on the my channel and you'll see a horizontal stream as well. That's where most people are at. But the vertical is there to take advantage of YouTube's algorithm. That's basically the only reason. So if you come across this stream on accident because you're doom scrolling on YouTube, welcome, and go ahead and click on go to my channel and check out the horizontals. You can see more of this show. But anyway, I'm finishing Master Girl's comment. He says the game timeline goes Metal Gear Solid 3, Peace Walker, Metal Gear Solid V or 5, Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 4, and Revengeance. That's Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. Thank you for that. No, let me see. Norwegian Black Templar says, I remember those days. We've lost so much. That's like the peak gaming thing. Limey Pam says, interesting stream. Thank you, Brian. You're welcome. Master Goa says, MGS-V or MGS5 Snake is a body double of Big Boss that is killed at the end of Metal Gear. Metal Gear Solid 3 and Peace Walker Snake is Big Boss that is killed in Metal Gear 2. The other games feature Solid Snake. We think of those people... We think of, okay, then he says, those people don't understand that the body double has a different voice because he is not the same guy. Solid Snake can share the voice as Big Boss because he's an actual clone. Right. All right. Yes, plot. Thank you for explaining the plot to that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Roblox. Now, why? So there has been some data that's come out from various let's say people who compile this stuff. There's a group, I gotta look it up really quick, called just a second, Circana, and they basically do they track customer bases for various industries, not just games, but all over, right? And what Circana has found is that the young gamers coming up, that's Generation Z and Generation Alpha, but in particular Generation Alpha, they don't consider themselves gamers in the sense that they play lots of different kinds of games.
Right.
They are players of a certain game. And that game for them right now is Roblox. So and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I don't know how this is going to affect the industry, but apparently Roblox, and they also prefer to game on their phones. Like they're all gaming on their phones. They don't buy PCs, they don't buy consoles.
Right.
And so it seems as though, or at least they don't get consoles. It seems as though what's happening is our generation and the Generation X and millennials and maybe some of Gen Z are potentially going to be the last ones gaming on a PC or console, potentially, because the young kids are just playing on their phones. And because of that, and they're also doing something called, it's called monogaming. Like they don't even game in the sense that they have like different things that they're doing. They're just playing one thing, Roblox.
Right.
Okay. And Roblox is the reason why it's so popular is because it is user generated content. So the people that use Roblox, the people who play it, make their own games within it. There's actually one game, and this is the real crazy thing. This one 16-year-old kid made this game called Grow a Garden, and it has made millions. No, wait, I'm sorry, more than that. It's probably the most played game, period. Like not on Roblox, the most played game, period. And he did it in 3 days. Roblox, the second quarter, and so like the game is free to play, but there's like a lot of microtransactions. So this is something I talked about. I think it was last week. We talked about how Roblox is there's some things that people consider to be predatory only insofar as there are children who hooked on Roblox, which has like a social element to it, and there are people who take advantage of that. Some of them are actual predators, which is a whole other conversation. But we talked a little bit about that last week. Like you have actual predatory PDF files on Roblox talking to kids, and lots of let's say inappropriate things happening on the platform. But the other thing is that essentially the company that owns Roblox is basically able to create this system with these microtransactions where you buy things called Robux, and you use the Robux to buy in-game, items or whatever. And they basically it's essentially like child labor because they get the kids to make the games and they make the money. Right. So and
it's tokenization. Yeah, it's tokenization to the player base, and I think the monogaming is an appropriate term to a degree, but I think almost a better thing to be calling this would be social platforming. Because it is built on this whole idea of community based, social interactions, and and the service itself is the platform, because you could say the same thing is happening with Fortnite. Someone in Fortnite has actually made a rebuild.
Fortnite is the Zoomer version,
of Roblox.
It's the Zoomers are on Fortnite, the alphas are on Roblox. That's basically what it is.
And some guy on the Fortnite, when they released their snake model, their skin to the game, he went and he made a rebuild of Metal Gear 1 inside of Fortnite. So and it's the same, but it's the same kind of concept of they want to have a tokenized kind of a captured audience, as it were, and so if you have all this investment in something, you've been with it since the time that you were young, and it's all it's that whole thing about like keeping people in thought paradigms. Why would I leave this game? It has everything I need. It has everything, and so but it is exploitative, as you're saying, where it's like they're churning out content through their audience, and they're the ones that are benefiting ultimately. And sure, it is a playground for creativity to some degree, but you're only as creative as the tools that are going to be available to you. So even that in and of itself kind of creates a little bit of a I guess creative hegemony of what is even possible. So it's it does allow for creativity in one sense, but it's limited in its scope and the range. So, but this, you could say, is kind of the state of reality in the 21st century, and everything else that they're trying to do by gamifying everything.
Yeah. Yeah, so like this game, Grow a Garden. So like the thing about Roblox, why is it so much of a big hit? People have built, and I mean by people, I mean the kids that use it, entire games, and they've even gotten licenses to do it within Roblox. So there is in Roblox, you can play Payday, you can play they did like I don't know, they did all like Left 4 Dead. They done like other games in the Roblox engine. They just put the game in there, and so like because it has that social aspect on top of that, it's kind of like what Little Big Planet was trying to do, right?
Yeah.
And I love Little Big Planet. I thought it was a really good idea when Media Molecule created it. I guess the only problem was that it was limited to the PlayStation 3 platform, and this is on, I guess, like mobile devices and PC. I don't know if it's on any consoles, but it has.
I'm pretty sure it is console available as well. I think it is
Yeah.
agnostic to your platform, as long as it has, because if it can play on a phone, it can play on just about anything. So, yeah, it's kind of like Fortnite in that aspect too. It's also another ubiquitous social platform that just takes on the shape of a game.
So the Roblox player base has the concurrent players, just Roblox in general, so you guys can just get a sense of like how big it is. Is, let me see here. Just gotta go because I got a lot written down here and I gotta find it. So right. So the engagement statistics is measured by user activity metrics like daily active users, monthly active users, hours engaged, session lengths. Daily active users, 88 million in the second quarter of 2025, which is the quarter we're in right now, up 20% from 73 million in the second quarter of 2024, so from last year. Monthly active users, under approximately 380 million monthly users. 380 million players. Okay. That's, I mean, I don't know if Steam records like that data, but whenever you go to like, you look at Steam charts, you look at the top games, it's almost always like Counter-Strike 2, you know, and there's a couple of games that are always up there at the top,
right?
You know, this sounds like it's more than that. I mean, I'll look later if we have time, but this sounds insane. Hours engaged, 20.1 billion hours. Right? Sessions per user, average of 3.5 sessions a day, with mobile accounting for 60% of that time. So you have a phone, the kid has a phone or a tablet, they can play Roblox anywhere. They can do it at school, they can do it on lunch break, whatever. On the school bus, they're playing Roblox constantly. There's no games that can compete with that. Like no regular games that we are accustomed to, or what we would call traditional games or conservative games, you know, from my day. So this is completely changing the industry. But the monogaming thing is not really unique to Roblox. Well, I already mentioned. What was that?
That's Train.
Oh, okay. I already mentioned Fortnite, which is also like a big deal. But there's also something else. Did you guys know that the new Battlefield 6? So like I don't know if you know, I think we talked about this last week. Like Call of Duty, the new Call of Duty is trying to do Fortnite stuff, right? They put like Beavis and Butthead in the game, and American Dad characters are in the game. And obviously this isn't going over well because the people that work at you know, Activision or whatever that are putting out the Call of Duty games, they think that they can just make it more like Fortnite, it'll sell better. But what they don't seem to realize is the Call of Duty audience is a different generation than the Fortnite generation.
And their sensibilities are completely counter to what Fortnite. Like the last thing that most players want is Fortnite. That's kind of you have to sometimes, you know, like you have to appreciate your differences, you know, actual legitimate diversity rather than trying to just make everything variants of the exact same kind of concept of it's all just Ready Player One. It's completely asinine. And they've shot themselves in the foot. which is kind of funny.
I think
considering
that's a fail on their part, because it's like Call of Duty doesn't look the same. And I know that there are some like people who have been making, let's say I don't want to call it pro Gamergate because they probably don't know what Gamergate is, but there are some YouTubers that they're pointing out what's going on with Call of Duty, and they're lamenting it because it's not there. It doesn't resemble the game that they love. But that's what I'm saying. Like there's a generational divide in the sensibilities of gamers. And so the millennials and Gen Xers and older, they have there's a certain thing they're looking for, and it's not Fortnite and it's not Roblox. That doesn't mean that there can't be any like millennials that'll play Fortnite. But what I'm saying is, in general, it's a different approach. And what I think these developers are looking for is their own Fortnite or Roblox type game, which in the sense of not like having the gameplay elements, but having the sustainability and the long-term growth that those games have, because Roblox is like making that company money hand over fist, and it probably won't have to change much of anything. Kind of like how Minecraft was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they, Notch put it out, and I mean, they're still updating it and stuff, but like in general, if you're into Minecraft, you're into Minecraft no matter what. Like it doesn't, because, and a lot of it has to do with the creativity and stuff that's in it. And so like I learned this today, because I didn't really think to look into it until I saw these reports about how the split between generations is in terms of playing Roblox or other games. Battlefield 6 is going to have user generated content. So Battlefield 6 is going to be introducing I guess tools for players to create their own maps and their own scenarios or whatever. And this is their answer to the Roblox question in a way. But again, the Battlefield 6 audience is different. But I think that it's actually it could potentially be a really like good idea for that, because Battlefield has I guess it's fallen off in a lot of ways. I played the very, very old one. I think it was called Battlefield 2043, or not 2043, 1943 or 1942 on the PC. That was like probably one of the first Battlefield games. You were like on an island. I think it was in Japan, or it was the Pacific Theater, and there were planes and jeeps and tanks. And but since then, like I haven't played much. I know about them, but there was a while there where the last couple of Battlefield games were like nobody liked them. They were like putting all this like feminist bullshit in there. There was like a chick with a like a, I don't know, like she was like an amputee with female amputee soldier in like this setting that's supposed to be historically accurate. And that just went by the wayside. And then there was that futuristic one that they made that nobody liked either. But I think that they're trying to get back to basics, and maybe they have a better grasp on like who their audience is. But if Battlefield 6 implements this user generated content well, then this could be massive in a way. I mean, like, imagine like playing on a first person shooter in any map that anyone makes. It's essentially like unlimited maps, you know? And I don't know what else they'll be able to allow, but it does sound really promising. And but again, like this is just like based on what I'm seeing. So, and also other examples of mono games. These are what I mean by monogaming is like it's just there are gamers who play just one game. So there are people who just play Call of Duty. There are people who just play Fortnite. There are people who just play World of Warcraft, or like they did when it was out. There's like the one game. Like, do any of you guys have just like one game that you play? Like you don't care if new shit comes out. You're still happy playing that one game. Do you have that? I mean, I did for a while. I got into City of Heroes, which was an MMO, and it was like the only thing I played for a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have talked in the past about how I have literally, in Grand Theft Auto Online, I played
GTA 5.
I played over 400 and some odd days of actual legitimate real. Like I've spent a legitimate more than a year of my life playing that game over the course of the decade, and that was 5 years ago that I had amassed that amount of time. So yeah, there and Red Dead was also another one that I played, but the biggest
That's
time
actually
sink
the reason why I have Red Dead Redemption 2. I did play the first one, like everything. I killed it. The first one, loved it. And I really want to play the second one, but I'm actually afraid to sit down because I could get sucked in and just play that. Because my wife did. She did the Red Dead Online for Red Dead 2, and she played it endless. Like, she's done everything. Like, she's done everything there is to do in that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I did all the way up until they effed up the economy, which I've talked at length about in various episodes in the past. If you wanna go check that stuff out. I'll spare everybody the same old story again. But yeah, there's also, of course, when you talk about the Take-Two games, there's what is it, 5M? So the role play servers, and that we need to, at some point in time, we need to do a show about the role play and how that is because that is monogaming for, and oddly enough, many times
role play servers. You mean like when you're playing MMOs and people just kind of get together and they just talk.
Right. And so
endless. That was a big thing in City Heroes too. That was a big thing.
And so they take a pre-existing kind of thing, and then they utilize the assets from it and rebuild a world space within it. And so Metal Gear, or not Metal Gear, but Grand Theft Auto RP servers are a big thing. Yeah. And then there's also Red Dead RP. But I've been dabbling in my friend in Japan. She wants me to play with her on the Red Dead RP.
Saka-chan.
Yeah, and so she sent me
playing it on.
Well, I can't do it right now because I just have a Steam Deck, and the RP server setup doesn't work with Steam Deck's interaction. But you basically have to have a PC and get into it and everything like that. And then Toasty earlier this week was talking to me about how she wanted to go do an RP server for a GTA Online setup, right? And when you look into these RP servers, they are structured by some of the most fucking just woke, insane, like pages upon pages of identity politics and cultural appropriations, how-tos and whys you don't, and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, and these are monogame experiences in and of themselves, but they're also trying to push these other things, and so as good as it is to have something that you're comfortable with, it's always good to at least kind of take a break. Like, as I said at the beginning of the show, if I could only ever play one game, it would be Death Stranding. But that's because Death Stranding, in many ways, is, even though it is this game that kind of relies on the interaction of other people in certain ways, it's still a very meditative kind of singular experience, and it's almost like a tool for kind of thinking about the wider aspects of your life. And as I mentioned earlier, with Metal Gear Solid V, I am looking to get into that, and evidently there is a whole end game of that could also carry on forever. There's some guy who's been talking about how he's been playing Metal Gear Solid V every day for over a decade, because of what you do, and because the whole end game is about nuclear disarmament and everything like that. And so there's just like, it's kind of, if you ever played Portable Ops or Peace Walker, there's aspects of that in Metal Gear Solid V, in the Phantom Pain.
Never played Peace Walker.
Peace Walker.
Was that a mobile one, or am I?
It was on
mobile, but like a portable.
It was on the PSP, but they did also make an HD version for the PlayStation 3.
Like a collection.
And there is talk of the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection 2 coming out that would include, more than likely, it would include Metal Gear Solid 4, Metal Gear Solid 5, Peace Walker, and the Acid games possibly. Yeah. So it hasn't been finalized what the roster is going to be, but if you do want to actually have, have it complete, those would be the ones that would actually do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, monogaming, while alluring, and I do see, because I even dabble in aspects of myself, I still think it's important to just, as much as you may like something, it is good to kind of, diminishing returns and all that, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
played the living shit out of Grand Theft Auto to the point to where it just became so tedious and chore based, and the development never, got beyond the most A space J space kind of level of copy paste programming until they started putting more of that kind of, well, you can't kill women now, and you can't do this, and you can't do, that's when they started adding in like their weird little DI fuckeries. So there
Yeah,
is something to be said for taking a break from these things so that you don't ultimately end up getting caught up in some kind of cult, as it were, because they will start to prey upon the way that you look at the world,
for sure.
and
Yeah, well,
utilize your
that's the thing. Like, yeah, I think I don't mind like RP servers as long as we're in
Mhm,
character. But if I like go, because I like doing that with like Helldivers 2 when I play that,
mhm.
or when I play Space Marine. But if I go into Space Marine 2 and somebody's like, are you sure that like we should be like going after the tier? It feels xenophobic to go after the Xenos.
Right,
I gotta
right.
explain that they're traitors. But anyway, yeah, so let us know what you guys think about this monogaming thing. I think that like it still remains to be seen where things go, but I do think that the upcoming generations are not the same gamers that we were, and that may fundamentally change things, but I don't think it's necessarily bad as long as a market for people like us continues to exist. I don't have a problem with like the young people moving on to do different things, what
Right,
they find enjoyable. I just don't like it when people try to take away what I like. So,
right. Yeah.
that's basically my take on it in short. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Have you ever played Roblox? You have kids that play it? Do you give them money so they can like spend it in the game? Are they making Roblox billions of dollars by creating content and essentially being like an unpaid child worker? Let me know in the comments. Let me look at your chat in the meantime. So let me see what you guys are saying. Master Goa says Roblox will probably be allowed to exist until government censorship is complete. At that point, it won't be needed after enough laws are passed. Then it will be allowed to end. Then he says Media Molecule also made another interesting game called Dreams. So many interesting things were created using its voxel tech. It was amazing, but got trapped on the PS4. Yeah, I was really interested in Dreams for a while, and I thought it was like amazing what they were doing with it. But then I was like, I couldn't possibly play this game. Like that's the main thing about these games. They're so big that it's like I don't think I can do that because I'm getting to the point now where I can't really give that
Yeah.
kind of time to something. It's such an investment. But I like the idea of it. I like that it has that. That's what I love about Little Big Planet. I'd like to go back and play it again sometime. Maybe I'll stream it because I do have it. So
Yeah. No Man's
Robert,
Sky evidently just put out an update where their new worlds
yeah.
are actually have oceans that you have to create ships to
Oh,
cross the
like No Man's
oceans.
Sky? Yeah.
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 That's another
Another,
good that's another game that I was really interested in, but it was just
yeah.
too huge. Even after they fixed everything, which I will be eternally grateful that they did, because at first I was like, this guy can't deliver on all this. And of
Right.
course he didn't initially, but then they got their shit together. So that's good. Anytime these people like redeem themselves, they deserve praise. Robert Johnson says Battlefield 6 had 5 million try the beta. Yeah, that's going to be a big one when it comes out. From what I hear, let me see. Norwegian says, I wish companies would find an audience and stick with it instead of trying to be jack of all trades. I agree. Well, they're trying to follow trends, and I think that's kind of a mistake. Like if somebody else got lucky with that, then there it is.
Yep.
Robert Johnson says, I've heard that they are allowing players to host their own servers as well, allowing them to filter out the content they do not want to engage with. Okay. Idaho Mike, what's up? Welcome. He says, I still dabble in Red Dead Redemption 2 online, but GTA 5 is still my mainstay. Are you going to get into GTA 6? Because I'm starting to worry about that one.
I'm
Massacre,
more
Metal
than
Gear Solid.
worried.
Huh?
I say I'm more than worried. I am.
Yeah, I
I
know.
I am outwardly off put by it, and I tell everybody as much.
Aw.
might be a little
MGSV has a
changed.
secret nuclear disarmament ending that only plays when the platform server acknowledges 0 nukes exist from every player on your platform. Yeah, I heard about that. I don't know. I think it's actually happened too. I
It's
think
been
that people have
triggered.
actually disarmed all their nukes
Uh,
in Peace
well,
1.
that was evidently some kind of weird glitch in the system having to do with the PS3 going
It was on
offline.
PS4, PS5, PS4, PS4. But go
Yeah,
ahead.
but yeah, like there was but there was an aspect of that that because they have said that the end game is never really supposed to end because there are kind of there are specifically places that are they're programmed into the structure basically that are going to be there. So it's supposed to always leave you wanting, because that's kind of what the game is about.
That's the
Is
point, right? Yeah, the Cold War,
right,
the atomic clock,
right.
whatever,
Because
the doomsday
yeah,
clock.
because as much as Big Boss set out to be this guy who the whole thing, Soldiers Without Borders,
Mhm.
as it were, uh, Military Sans Frontiers. If you do that, ultimately, it's that whole thing about you either die the hero or you live long enough to
Live
become the
long enough to
villain.
be
And
the villain. Yeah.
right, and so Big Boss's whole story arc in that whole thing is he starts off with this very kind of noble thing, but as time goes by, because he gets so inundated with what it's about and this and that, and holding on to his ideals, that it's kind of like that whole thing about, like, have if you grip your religion too tightly, you'll actually lose your good faith that it's based upon. And so yeah, there's something there about all that, and so that's what
Yeah.
I love about Hideo Kojima's work, which is why I say I can play Death Stranding till the end of time, because there is like this
That's your mono game.
fulfillment. Yeah, there's this fulfillment.
Death Stranding is your mono game. All right. Yeah. Well, anyway, let us know what you guys think about that one in the comments. We're gonna move on to the next story. So, Take Us North. Have you guys heard about this? So, Take Us North is a narrative-driven adventure survival game developed by Anima Interactive, which is a Los Angeles-based indie studio founded by Carla Reyes. It explores the perilous journeys of migrants and asylum seekers crossing the US-Mexico border, drawing from real interviews with migrants, anthropologists, and experts to foster empathy and challenge perceptions about immigration. Players will be taking the role of a guia, which is basically a guide, or coyote, navigating challenges like the Sonoran Desert with survival light mechanics, emphasizing emotional and authentic storytelling rather than action. So this is like a crowdfunding effort. It's completely surpassed its goals. Let me see. I got the Kickstarter right here, because this is one of those projects that Kickstarter allows on their platform.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it's a interactive narrative that follows the journeys of migrants and asylum seekers on their way to cross the U.S.-Mexico border. Why does this look like Dustborn? Have you noticed the color scheme just right off the bat?
Believe me, when I was sourcing the image for today's thumbnail, I watched the trailer and I'm just like, oh my god, it's like time is a flat circle. We were just here a year ago, making these Dustborn thumbnails and whatnot. Yeah.
So, yes, this is just Dustborn again. So this is the thing that I thought was really interesting about this. I'm not going to say that I called it, but I noticed a pattern in activism, let's just say, in the current thing. Are you guys familiar with the "I support the current thing" meme? Hold on, let me bring it up.
Pronouns in your bio, fucking Ukrainian flags. I mean, Palestinian flags. I mean, yeah.
It's yeah. So let me put it up on the screen so you guys can see it. So the "I support the current thing" meme is basically just exposing the thought patterns of NPCs. And all it is this, right? So, like, the people who spin narratives around the world, like in the let's say the Cathedral, Operation Mockingbird, the media, and not just like the media, like the 3-letter organizations, that work closely with government agencies to like spin narratives and send them out there, but also social media influencers that are organically putting out the same kinds of content. You guys heard about the piece that was done. I think it was Taylor Lorenz talked about it, that there were all of these like lefty progressive social media influencers that are essentially just like being paid, like thousands and thousands of dollars to put out commentary. I'll just put it like that. A dark money group that is secretly funding high profile Democrats. I'd rather just say leftists because it doesn't necessarily connect to a specific party. So they're getting paid to put out these narratives. And I'm saying that because this game, Take Us North, is basically the current thing meme again. And there was a prediction made by this guy. He was on, I saw the video on X, and he was basically saying, you know how in 2019 we were all talking about COVID and masking, and that was like the thing that you all had to cope with, masking, lockdowns, social distancing, and all this bullshit was coming out of the media. You had to get your jab, otherwise you were a terrible person, otherwise you don't deserve medical care. If you remember what Jimmy Kimmel was saying, right? Rest in peace, Wheezy, right? And then when the COVID thing like started to pass, we got a new thing. George Floyd died, and all of a sudden, everything is Black Lives Matter. Everyone's changing their profiles to black boxes. All the companies are coming forward. We have to fire a bunch of white people, replace them with black people, and it's a cycle. Then you got Ukraine and Russia. Then you got women losing the right to abort their babies. Then you got like Israel, Palestine, and that didn't quite shake out the same way. That's a little bit shakier because people are a lot less sympathetic to Israel, and so it didn't quite work out. But it's like one social crisis after another, and it serves a multitude of purposes. But the primary one is to divide people and to make people angry and anxious and scared, and it's also to like get them to vote a certain way. Vote Democrat. Otherwise, women are gonna lose their rights. Otherwise, Russia's gonna destroy Ukraine and take over the world, and he's a fascist. Otherwise, and so on down the line. Otherwise, black people are gonna get hunted. Otherwise, trannies are gonna die. They're gonna go extinct. It's just one thing after another, right? Yeah, we did the trans thing. I think that was like last year when Joe Biden was president. He took he made like a trans awareness day. I think it was on Easter. Like Father's Day or something. It was on Easter. Easter, that's right. It was Easter. Yeah. Trans Awareness Day. Forget the resurrection. It's about trans awareness, right? And so like every time these things come out, of course, people get exhausted and they got to move on to something else. And this guy was talking about, he's like, the next thing, he said that he got this on good information. Like there were emails or memos being sent out to various activist groups, government orgs, corporations, like corporate like marketing teams, that the next thing is going to be immigration. That's going to be the new thing. That's going to be the new talking point that we all have to drive home. And then that was like just a few months ago. And now this game is coming out. And it's not, I'm sorry, it's not an accident. Like they got to work right away. And so they're trying to make, and I mean, you could say that Dustborn was trying to do that, but I think Dustborn was trying to grab onto all of the things at once, because there was like people with vitiligo, I guess they get discriminated against now. I don't know. And natives.
This game is specifically funded by NGOs, and this is a complete. This thing is a fabrication.
Absolutely, that's why it got funded on Kickstarter like immediately.
Right. Whereas Dustborn was just from a group of people that were ideologically captured already.
Well, they were also getting support from like
they were
Norwegian government. They were getting money from like
right. To be fair, there was elements of that, but this is an even more kind of top down level kind of pyramid schemed idea that is trying to put something out at the surface level as just a game, but what it's actually about is all this globalist, kind of world without borders kind of insanity and
absolutely. Yeah,
You know, yeah.
absolutely.
Like the idea that a coyote is some well-intentioned,
I know. I
idealistic
thought it was
kind of
crazy that they were choosing like that you play a coyote. They're like
right,
they're human traffickers. They like rape women. Like they're
right,
they
right,
sell kids into slavery. Like what?
right.
That's crazy.
This is the most
It's
weird kind of 1984 2 plus 2 equals 5 kind of programming
yeah.
schlock that they could put the fuck out at this point in time. Yeah, coyotes are not to be idolized or deified. They're people that are making money off of human suffering, and they don't really give two shits about
Are
you.
there gonna be any cartels in the game? Can you play as an
Right, right.
MS-13 guy?
Right, yeah, that'd be
Like
great, like, but they'll all be, like, well-meaning cartels, right? Yeah.
can you be can you be what's his name? Albrego Garcia, the guy that everybody made into like a martyr. He was like the George Floyd of immigration.
Mhm.
Oh God. So all right. So this didn't come without backlash. So this is good because it means people are awake to this shit.
Yep.
So in late August, Twitch streamer Asmongold reacted harshly to a Gamescom segment. That's where we heard about it, calling it propaganda and an illegal migrant simulator that glorifies illegal immigration, criticizing its focus on shifting hearts and minds amid real-world debates on jobs, security, and cartels. These are all important things. I mean, like, aren't they like getting like the wall painted black? Do 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 so that people can't climb it because it gets really hot because black absorbs heat,
Right. Yep.
So yeah, don't come here. Do not come. Do not come. I'm gonna come. Um, this ignited a firestorm on social media, amplified by influencers like Grums and Gothic Therapy, who allege ties to Sweet Baby Inc. via Wings' interactive board connections, Clever Endeavor Games, and even a UN showcase codenamed The American Dream. Yes, of course, the UN got behind it. I don't know. Was it confirmed that Sweet Baby Inc. was involved? I mean, it doesn't like it's not like we need to
Well,
prove
Wings
that.
Interactive,
But
through Kim Bel-Air's association is
there
so
you go.
anything that is Wings is Sweet Baby Inc.
Okay.
And that stuff that I had researched last year about the funding model, Ubisoft spun her out of the marketing department specifically to make these associations. And so, yeah, anything that she's involved in and that's why even Sweet Baby Inc. When people are like, "Oh, we just get rid of Sweet Baby Inc., this all goes away," it's like it don't work that easy, unfortunately, because Sweet Baby Inc. is a hydra. Even if you destroy it as Sweet Baby Inc., the people that are involved with it are so entrenched in the in the fuckery that's going on. You're never going to be able to get rid of them. All you can do at best is you can't even necessarily even you might be able to dilute it to a degree in terms of the concentration of people in any one thing, but then they will just onboard more and more people that have that same kind of ideological capture, and they will just try to concentrate their efforts and so on and so forth. And so this is never going to end, like, because it's a
Oh, of
pervasive
course
thing that
not.
is coming from the WF and the United Nations specifically, the Rockefeller Foundation, as I pointed out a year ago. Ubisoft does not put out, Ubisoft used to put out a game every week,
Yeah.
and now they put out their flagship quarterly releases throughout the year, and then all the rest of their stuff is spun through independent game development. There was somebody just the other day, someone was trying to say the new Prince of Persia game is an indie game. It's like, no, clearly it is a Ubisoft property. Specifically, they are just licensing out this to a development studio that is under their thumb. And so this is the furthest thing from that. But they're trying to get people to believe that if you don't see certain names on things, somehow it's independent. And that's not the way any of
Oh,
this
of
works.
course not. It's AstroTurf completely. Nobody
Yeah.
wants this. They have to AstroTurf it, and then
Yeah.
they want to trick you into thinking it's independent. I think a lot of independent film is also the same way.
Mm-hmm.
But so there was an interview with the head developer, the founder and creative director, Carla Reyes. Okay, and this is what This is from, I'm looking at a website called butwhythough.net.
Right.
So they said, this is what she said. My father immigrated from Guatemala, Reyes told me. He crossed the border this way, as did much of my family. So he's illegal then. Send him back. That's why I was particularly drawn to this topic, especially now when it's more relevant than ever. Wow. Way to out your dad. The team's commitment shows in every detail. So there was a thing about, let me just read this because this is sort of like a sympathetic side of this, okay? Take Us North is informed by consultations with anthropologists, shelters in Nogales, and migrants who have made the journey themselves. The game avoids easy answers or political posturing, doubt it. Instead, it offers a nuanced human perspective that already tells you where they're coming from.
Right.
We're trying to challenge people's perceptions about migration, Reyes said. It's not just people from Mexico or Latin America. There are people from all over the world who travel through Mexico because they know it's a port of entry. Yeah, we know that. We know there are people coming from China, Africa, the Middle East. Like, we know that. That's why we're closing the border. I mean, yes, you play as a coyote. But unlike most depictions in popular media, the game reframes the role. There are good coyotes too, Reyes says. We wanted to show that nuance.
Yes. The untold story of the idealistic, well-intentioned human trafficker.
Maybe the coyote will be like a woman of color, like a queer woman of color, so that way you get more sympathy for that coyote. Yeah, they'll probably do that. So, it's like gameplay wise, it's probably light on that. I think it's mostly going to be narrative. There's supposedly like survival light is what they call it, which basically means what? Manage food, water, stamina, and heat exposure.
It's going to be a quick time event game.
Yeah, it's likely going to be that.
Yeah.
They're trying to liken it to Death Stranding. They're trying to. Yeah.
I mean, I'll be the first person to admit that there is some, you could argue woke elements within Death Stranding because it's a game that's built around the concept of a destroyed world, but it's not due to climate change. They do comment on aspects of that kind of thing, but the game is a battle world from the multifaceted states of an incursion event that they don't really even understand why or how it happened. But yeah, like I will admit there are some aspects within that where, I'm not the kind of person who shies away from thinking about things that are outside of my comfort zone. But there is like there is that, and then there is this, and what this is ideological, one of us kind of syndrome of because even when you play through Death Stranding, the entire thing is like, well, what does any of this really mean? Because and I've mentioned here before, I don't drive. And so you'd think that I'd be all like, oh, well, we need to get rid of, petroleum operated internal combustion engines. And we all just need to, no. Because if you go and try to run the grid, like BlackRock right now, the reason that your electricity bill is not going down is because BlackRock is ensuring that it stays up. They run data centers everywhere. They do all this kind of stuff, and you foot the bill. You're basically subsidizing the actual, welfare queens, which are corporations that are able to subsidize their costs on you. And if you had electrical vehicles for everything, and everything had to be plugged into the grid, the grid would have to be that much larger to sustain itself, and that would ultimately cause even more problems with our environment than having a multitude of possibilities. So it's about balance. Too much anarchy, not a good thing. Too much authority, not a good thing. You have to pick and choose in life. That's the whole thing about
Sure.
having discernment and being an individual. So
well, I think they're just trying to get on the coattails of Death Stranding and say, look, we're just like them, so you should
right.
But,
yeah, trust me, bro.
But no, everybody clowned on it. They ended up scrubbing basically like all traces of the game outside of the Kickstarter and a couple of like charitable articles like from Kotaku and stuff. But like, yeah, for the most part, no one is buying it. It's in terms of like, buying into this narrative. It's funded. It's probably going to come out, but no one's interested. It doesn't like people were clowning on it like on social media. Basically, if you like look it up on YouTube, it's just ridicule, which is good. I'm happy for that. That's good news. But I want the game to come out. So I want to see I want it to come out. I want to see if it like, you know, beats the Concord record. By the way, Concord, did you guys know that Concord failing in the way that it did is actually a good thing? I forgot to mention that. Did you know that?
Yeah.
This is what Sony's claiming now. No, this is a good thing.
Right. We need things to fail quicker and faster. We need better failures. Yeah, I read that.
More spectacular failures.
Yeah.
Yes.
The idea isn't to be successful, you see. It's to have a whole bunch of small failures that are more iterative and they're lessened. We don't want to have that article was
it's cope.
So much cope.
All right. So let me look at some of your comments, and then we're gonna talk cake a little bit, because that's all I got for stories, really. But I do have some like interesting games coming out that I want to show you guys, and some that I've been playing, or at least one that I've been playing that I've been very into. So let me see what you guys are saying. Saltpeter Taffy says this is just Dustborn again. Yeah, it might be worse. I'm hoping it's worse. I need the cringe.
Right.
Idaho Mike says, well, I'm pretty sure that there's no triggered thing in this game. Yeah, maybe there'll be a troon that's trying to get in. I bet that there'll be like a colorful group of diverse characters that are all trying to cross the border, and they all have like really like great stories, because they're getting these anecdotes from actual like migrant hopefuls. So they gotta get the best ones, and they gotta like embellish a little bit. You know, let's exaggerate things. It's gotta be more dramatic. It's kind of like how Hollywood makes movies based on a real story. The Zerank says the propaganda is real, where you adopt the role of a coyote and only act like one up to a point. Can we not out these people as evil and be done with all of it? Yeah, it'd be nice. Idaho Mike says, fuck, man, if they make a game based on Gaza or Ukraine, I don't know. Dude, make it. Do it. Do it. Let's see it. I want a game where somebody should start a Kickstarter to make a game where you are a Palestinian and you're getting your family bombed the shit out of, and you're hungry, and you're like, I want that. They will never let that happen. Never.
Right. You can't actually tell the truth on that one, because like the much as I've said it before, you know, much as Al Qaeda is to the CIA, Hamas is to the IDF.
Yeah,
you know, and therein lies like the difficulty with the whole thing, because it's like, on one hand, it's like I do feel that, you know, what these people are being put through is pretty fucking terrible. However, the way that it is kind of, you know, tried to codify it into like one side's all perfect and this and that, there are a lot of people that are being exploited throughout the fuckery, and this goes back to like the dawn of fucking time. So
yeah, for sure,
you know, it's not anything that anybody should really want to get involved in.
It's a very old problem. Gabriel says, play this for the channel. Play Take Us North. I mean, if it's not too expensive, or if somebody buys it for me, I definitely will stream it for the channel. Let's see. Master Goa says, send them all back, let God sort them out. Gabriel says, queer, pangendered, trans, lesbian, coyote of color. Suddenly the good guy. It's nuanced. Zeranx gives a super chat for 5. Thank you, Zeranx, and says, if they make the coyote a diverse female character, we should call her Ghislaine, regardless of what her in-game name is. Ooh, maybe they'll let you name your character. I'll definitely name them. If it's a female, Ghislaine. If it's a male, Jeffrey.
I need to cross the border so I can get my hormone therapy.
Yes. Gabriel says this game is not as cool as the ride with Norman Reedus, or the ride with Skullface that goes on for 10 minutes. Let me see. Master Goa says, when can we get a game where you play as Ice? I'd buy that. Holy shit, that would be kind of good, actually. Somebody should do that in Roblox. I think you can. He also says the new Shinobi game is amazing. Is that out yet?
I believe so. I believe Dan was playing it earlier in the week.
Oh, really? Cool. Yeah. All right. Thanks for the comments. Appreciate that. Okay. let's get into some cake. I'm gonna because we didn't do this last time, and I definitely have some things I want to look at. So there's quite a few things in my history here, but one that I thought was interesting. I don't know if you guys would like this or not, but I like to see that there are people trying things that are different, and I was kind of impressed with the fact that this was even attempted. So this is a game. I'm gonna share screen now, called Gate Zero, and oh, Dean Domino says for cake, check out the Nightling. I will. Okay, I'll check that out. Thank you for that. The Epstein thing was covered up because Trump is now best buddy with Netanyahu. Epstein was a Mossad honeypot operation. That's why our politicians are loyal to Israel. I don't know. I don't. I mean, I think that there's. I think that it's not as simple as that. I don't think that Trump is like covering up something for himself, because if he was actually in trouble, then the Democrats would have released that information when they were in power. But yeah, I agree that we should get the information. So right. I don't disagree with that, and I do think that there is an unhealthy relationship between our government and that government. But I think that more and more people are talking about it now, so it's at least it's out in the open, and I think it's getting exposed. Israel is very, very unpopular with every country in the world. Like nobody likes them.
And it seems to go that way throughout history. I wonder why.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why. But yeah, it's an old conversation. You know, it's funny that you should bring this up, actually, because the game we're looking at, Gate Zero, it is a puzzle platformer with like stealth elements. It's got developers that used to worked for on games like Assassin's Creed and other big titles. I can't remember exactly, but the concept is really interesting. It is being put out by Templar Media and Bible Games. I never heard of these people before, but it's like a time traveling game. Well,
Thank you all for joining us today. We are very excited for you to be among the first to see an early version of Gate Zero this week. Gate Zero is our first of its kind open world biblical action adventure game set in ancient Israel that allows the player to explore the history and stories found in the Bible, all set against the backdrop of Roman oppression at one of the most pivotal and significant moments in history. During its early development, the game has already captured the imagination of millions and achieved significant success, including amassing a large grassroots following on social media with over 500,000 followers and more than 75 million views of our content. A Kickstarter campaign funded in 79 hours with over 300,000 raised by the end of the campaign, and over 6 million euros raised separately via donations. It is 2072, and the world is controlled by the United Futures Initiative, or UNIFY. Their method is simple: control all history and information, filtering the past to shape the future that fits their vision of progress.
So
Zionism?
I don't know, but they control the media and the politicians, and they control essentially history.
Right.
But in this game, they literally control history. There's like a lot of there's time travel, so they actually like go into the past and alter things in the past. And specifically, you go to Capernaum, which is where the game takes place, and it is like in the Middle East, and it's during the time of Christ. Right. And so it's like a game that takes place in the time where Jesus walked the earth, and he is performing miracles and stuff. And you're going back there to restore history, so essentially to make it accurate. It's really interesting, like, I think. And again, I think it's very it's bold to do like a biblical project too, because no one would find that like interesting. But it does seem like there's a lot of interest in this game, specifically because of like what seems to be happening in this world that they've made with like this, these conglomerate like initiative. It's sort of like a government / corporation merger where they're trying to control where they're trying to control like not information essentially. It seems really prescient, So
Their motto: unify is truth, unify is history, unify for a better future. You play as Max. After a time travel accident, Max, a rebellious teen, is stranded in ancient Israel. Max doesn't care about the Bible or religion. He just wants to fix the time machine and get back home. Yet we see Max's view shift as he encounters what Unify is doing in the past. He must reclaim the real history and protect it before it's lost for all time. Max learns to survive in ancient Israel, evade Romans, and harness powerful time energy tools. He is helped by his cousin Hector, who is communicating with Max from the future. Max met his new friend Eleazar during Passover in Jerusalem, but they ended up in prison with Jesus' cousin, John the Baptist. They escaped, and now they're traveling to Capernaum, the hometown of Eleazar, and the site of much of Jesus' early ministry, to locate Jesus with the hope that he can help them rescue John.
So that's kind of like they're still in early production. I'll jump ahead to some of the gameplay stuff. So it's open world exploration. There's puzzles. There's stealth, and you have like some high tech items. This one looks like a staff. It's kind of, I guess, a nod to Moses. Pretty interesting.
Along those lines, we will start by showing you a quick peek at our stealth gameplay. This tax collector has been ripping off the locals. So we would like to get in.
Definitely
and take something
seems like
from
a
his
better offering than the most recent Assassin's Creed. I'll give it.
Yeah, I know. The narrative of this game sounds interesting, but I would rather have a new Deus Ex. There's a number of Bible games. Yeah, I know, but I think I don't know if there's any really good ones. I don't know about that.
I can't say that I've ever seen anything quite to this expression.
Yeah, like
just
there's
even in
I've
in
seen
this
like
form.
yeah, I wouldn't I think that you like there's games that have like biblical themes that I really think are good. One of them is one of the ones I want to talk about that I played, but like Blasphemous, I wouldn't call it a Bible game or a religious game, but it has, like it has like this aesthetic that's obviously taking from, like religious art and stuff as it's like, but Blasphemous is just a solid game. And the guys that made Blasphemous are the same guys that worked on that Ninja Gaiden game, that 2D one. And then there's Lords of the Fallen, which the remake that they recently like fixed has a lot of these kinds of things too, and it's also really good. But I wouldn't say it's a religious game. So Trickster Not says that's a bold narrative. Yeah, it is, right? I think that what I think they're doing here, and it's interesting that you should mention that you mentioned Assassin's Creed. How many people made this game? They outdid us, Ass Creed, LMAO. Some of the people who worked on this worked on Assassin's Creed. So you got people that used to work for Ubisoft and then they left them to make this game. But what's interesting is that and I like the Assassin's Creed game though. I played the first two. That was about the extent of it. So I can't speak to the later ones, but the first two games were pretty good. But when I played them, they were trying to teach you something about history. And I think they were twisting the truth a lot. Like if you play Assassin's Creed, the Templars are basically the bad guys.
Right.
And they put you on the side of Islam because that's the character you're playing, Altair, right? And they kind of continue that on when you play the second one as Ezio. You're against the Templars again. And I think that the people who made the game were trying to nudge the truth a little bit of history by using the game. And it's interesting that people who used to work on that game worked on this game, where it's almost like they're trying to do the
reverse
opposite of that. What?
Right. Yeah. They're now showing you the other perspective on it because it's the Templars. When you do research into the Templars throughout history, the way that they were vilified by the kings and whatnot because they actually had access to certain things. It's that whole thing. Like what's the quote? When we do more investigation into World War II, I'm paraphrasing right now. We were totally like supporting the wrong side. And so yeah, it's there are aspects that would be interesting to just kind of get a different spin on the same kind of concept. Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weren't the Templars founded to clear the road to the Holy Land for pilgrims? Yeah, and for the most part, the Crusades are a defensive war. There were multiple Crusades, and they were defensive. It was Islam that was expansionist, obviously, but that's not the way Assassin's Creed paints it. So anyway, I just want to show some of the stealth. So he obviously uses like a rock to distract this
Store to
Roman
find and
guard.
gather that will be used for crafting as well as upgrading weapons and tools.
The game will have weapons. It will have combat.
Great job, Max.
There's stealth. There's puzzle solving.
Rumors about healings have spread like wildfire in Capernaum. Here, events unfolded that would go on to shape the core values, laws, and worldview of the Western civilization in the future. To capture the authentic feel of this region, we have put a lot of effort into capturing and presenting this in a detailed way so that the player can live, read, and investigate this world themselves. It is built using the latest version of Unreal Engine 5 by experienced developers with backgrounds from games such as Red Dead Redemption, Assassin's Creed, Grand Theft Auto, Maneater, and more.
All the guys who got thrown out for, the DI tax getting paid. Get rid of all the problematic line guys. What are they going to do? They'll never get any. Oh, well, we're just going to make a game that's based on faith.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool, right? And I'll show you a little bit more. There's some traversal.
Ancient past. You can see his
Show a little
glowing
bit of
staff,
this.
and
It's a
with
long
that
video, I'm not
and
gonna
with
play the
it,
whole
you can detect danger and things that don't belong in this world. Corruption and information needed to uncover Unify's lies. Max has an investigation view, which can be used to find things that are out of place, out of time, or valuable for his mission. You can see there is something of interest near the top of the synagogue. Now we need to find a way to get up there.
Because this guy already knows how to go. But you can see that some of the, and this is very early. This is like an alpha build, I guess. So I think it's going to look different when it's finished.
The item you need to reach is far up on the roof of the synagogue. Fortunately for us, Max has developed some skills navigating the danger of his world in the future, evading the forces of Unify. He's naturally a very athletic young man, and those abilities have now been enhanced with time energy technology. Among these skills, Max can do an eon jump to traverse longer distances. Now we reach the main building in town, the synagogue. Here you can see the Sea of Galilee, and down there you can see Simon Peter's house, the house of the famous Saint Peter. You can actually still see traces of this synagogue at its location today, the synagogue where Jesus actually spoke 2,000 years ago. We have closely collaborated with historians and archaeologists to bring forward an authentic game where you can dive into the biblical world.
In the same way they did this kind of thing whenever they do these historical games that take place in real places, they usually have historians to help them out with that, which I think is very cool. I'm going to jump ahead to the end here. Show you the last thing. There's puzzles and stuff like that.
Yeah. Baruch must be in there. I'm going in.
Copy that. I'm with you.
Now we will skip ahead to where Uncle Baruch has been rescued. And now we reach the final resolution, bringing this main mission to its end.
Early Christian LARP game. I don't know if it's a LARP game.
Yeah, I mean, that would be live action role play.
I shall come to my friend's house.
So sorry. My friends, they believe her.
That you can heal him.
Yes, we can see that.
Please forgive us. We shouldn't be here.
He's a
We shouldn't be
paralytic.
here.
He can't walk.
That's true, Rabbi. He's got a past.
Friend, your sins are forgiven you.
my sins forgiven?
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 What about his legs?
Only God can forgive sins.
Why do you think evil in your hearts? What is easier to say? Your sins are forgiven, or stand up and walk? So that you shall know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins. I say to you, stand up. Take up your bed and go home.
And my legs?
So anyway, you play Max is trying to like correct things, but I guess as you play through the game, you are sort of like seeing all of the stories from
Miraculous
the
works.
New Testament specifically,
Mhm.
and that also. And I want to. What I'm curious about is not necessarily like what the interactions with the Romans will be, because obviously they're the ones that are running things, but what the interactions with the Pharisees will be, because they're also the enemies, of Jesus in the Bible. And then in a way, they're worse enemies, but it's the Gentiles and the Jews, right? So anyway, that's almost, I feel kind of bad because it seems like I'm getting a little bit preachy. I'm not trying to do that, but I thought it was a very interesting concept. Nova fan, Kotaku Day One review, Reem, a Christian nationalist uprising. Yeah, they're not even gonna pretend like this exists. So let me put in another game that I wanted to show you guys. But that one, it's a ways off. I think it could be cool. But I don't know. So all right, so this is called Dungeons Deep. And it is a Souls-like survival game. Look, I don't like the term Souls-like. I don't think it makes sense. So this is probably misplaced. But
we who are about to die, waiting for your stamina. It looks like I actually injured this guy. He's like holding his tummy. Bash one more time. Okay, not too bad. They dropped some stuff. I got some fine leather boots, fine leather gloves, a leather
it's like
cap,
a dungeon crawler.
So this is 5 to 6 armor. Is this better than what I've got?
Probably just like
so we'll equip that.
a more hardcore simulation style.
Got myself a hat. Kind of sad I'm covering up my luscious locks now, but it's okay. Some health potions. I picked up the boots I dropped, and it looks like there's something over here. What is this?
Let me move ahead a little bit.
Okay, I kind of want that sword.
There's a demo for this one.
Yeah, that shield bash attack is so good.
You're
I
curious
don't really know how to get around that shield.
It's called
One thing about this
Dungeons Deep
is the hitboxes are very precise. So apparently there's dismemberment. If you attack people enough on certain parts of their body, it will break off their limbs.
You can damage body parts.
Knock out
Kind of reminds me of
and so
game I've been looking forward to for a while that I interviewed the developers on, called what was it called? It has Crown in the title. Why
you
am
want
I
to be really precise with where you're aiming.
Crown of something. Let me see.
Right, you're dead. Should be able to bash you in a second here too. I need more mana so I can try all the other moves.
It seems
I don't
to me
know if it's in here anymore. What?
Don't worry, I'm just relaxing. I'm
God,
resting. I gotta get my stam.
It's such a well-known game, and for whatever reason, it escaped my mind.
Crowned in Steel. That's what it is.
Right.
Crowned in Steel. That's the one. Yes, because it's like a Conan type game. Crowned in Steel. This kind of reminds me of that in a way.
I feel like I don't even want to stab you sometimes, but I could just keep bashing into you.
But this is Dungeons.
It looks like your stamina's down here as well.
I don't know. Like, there's a demo out. I don't know, like how
cool
involved.
Now that I have a moment.
So that's just like I didn't see a trailer for it. I probably could have looked one up. Let me put in another one. Hold on a second here. Go to my history. There's like another action they call it an action roguelike. I don't know how I feel about all of these like weird ways of like, you know, describing genres because sometimes I don't think it applies. But it's something in my wish list. Oh, did you see this? This is a movie trailer. I got to show you this. Do you remember this old like sword and sorcery movie called Death Stalker that came out in the 80s?
Vaguely.
Okay, so look, you got to see this. This is a remake, I guess. They're doing another Death Stalker. I don't know.
The slave was once a knight. Before the war against the Dreadites. Surgeon with a sword. Oh, wow. He answers to only one name.
I? What name would that be?
And he's got a very retro vibe.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing, yeah.
Death Stalker.
It's giving like those old like
come and get it.
Sorcery movies.
Right.
The mighty Death Stalker!
What is that sword? Featuring original music from Slash, Bear McCreary, and Blitz Berlin.
Indeed.
October 10th. So
I will keep my eye out.
In theaters.
Kind of interesting.
I mean, I love like those old, because I was really into those when I was a kid. Like in the 80s, they made these fantasy movies. They were like low budget, but they were fun and creative. So didn't mind that at all. Speaking of which, do you ever see the movie Zardoz with Sean Connery?
Long.
Oh my god, I watched it last night. I was like, what the fuck is this about? Dude, that is insane. Okay. What was that?
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Okay. Let me look up another one. This is 13Z, and this is an interesting I guess they're calling it a roguelike or something, but there's a demo out of this as well. So let me show you this. I downloaded.
For ages untold, the 12 Zodiac Guardians of the East have safeguarded humanity's fate. Determined not to fade into obscurity, they have revived the Zodiac Trials. Now they seek a 13th Zodiac. Let your Zodiac Trials begin.
Interesting. It's good visuals.
Yeah, it's got like a cool aesthetic to it. That kind of grabbed my attention.
Yeah.
Patton Oswalt. Yeah, I know Patton Oswalt. I know it's weird that he's in it. Okay, then there's apparently there's new information, a new Space Marine thing that I thought I would show you guys as well for Space Marine 2.
Greetings, Space Marines. You've slain the enemies of humanity for nearly a year. You've bolstered the ranks of the Imperium by the millions. And you brought us victory time and time again. Now the Emperor calls upon you once again for a new year of Space Marine 2 content.
Nice.
Starting next week with patch 10, all the way to patch 15 next year. Here's a taste of the free content we have in store for you. New operations, a new PvP game mode with a playable hell route, 3 PvP arenas, gameplay modifiers, and much more. Like the addition of new enemies and bosses for you to take down. The Chaos Spawn and the Mutalith Vortex Beast. Like several new weapons with which to dispose of them in the Emperor's name. Pyre Blaster, Pyre Cannon, Power Axe.
I want that.
Xenophase Blade, Combi Melter, and others. Brought to you by our next playable class, the Tech Marine. And to further enhance your looks, next week will mark the release of our Season Pass 2, which will add 9 new cosmetic DLCs packed with armor pieces, heraldry decals, and weapon skins. Stay tuned to our social media channels and see you all very, very soon.
Nice. Well,
oh yeah, the game is still getting support.
Yeah, all the more value. Yeah.
Yeah. We're still getting stuff for Space Marine, which is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess like because we're getting short on time, I wanted to show you all the game that I've been playing, which is Witchfire. Oh, and let me do the one that the guy suggested I look up really quick. The Nightling. Let me put that one in.
Yeah,
because he did. Let's see if we can get a trailer for that. Here we go. On Nintendo Switch, looks like, or maybe not just on Switch.
Sir Lionstone, the most valorous knight one could ever meet. Leagues above any guard and soldier in the realm. Unmatched in his appetite for adventure.
I'm guessing you're playing this.
Always ready to charge ahead.
Squire.
Flaunting his sharp eye and peerless aim, relentlessly striking his targets with a legendary precision and grace. Even so, never too proud for the smallest of quests. For a knight has to be ready at the best of time. And most certainly at the worst. As the one constant in life is change.
Oh, nice transition. You just have a shield. Captain America simulator. Rygar? Rygar? Anybody?
Yeah.
The Nightling. All here.
Oh yeah, looks good. All right. Witchfire is the game I've been playing lately, and I highly recommend it. You play I guess there was an update, but I just wanted to show the trailer, I guess. Let me see. So the most recent one might be this. In Witchfire, you are a witch hunter, and it's like, I guess it has roguelike elements, where you die and then you like start over, but there's a lot of stuff that you can keep and you like level up as you go. And I got hooked. I love it. I love the aesthetics. Fun to play for single player, dark fantasy, RPG shooter. It definitely has like Warhammer vibe to it. I'm hoping Witchfire comes to consoles. I don't know. I have it on. I have it on. What do you call it?
Steam.
An early access. Oh.
The church promised me salvation, but that's not why I'm here. I know what I've done, and I need to pay for it.
It's got Solomon Kane vibe.
Dead.
Which is why I'm drawn to it.
With witch fire in my blood. I'm a sinner, an abomination, and our only hope.
I mean, why wouldn't you want to play that?
Right.
You get like magic and guns. You enough big guns. It's good shit.
Oh yeah, so it's a cross between Elden Ring and actually giving you
yeah, you see like different classes.
Yeah. But Elden Ring and Fallout together in one experience.
Yeah. There you go on expeditions. It's challenging too to manage your ammo, manage your boating.
Sweet.
Oh yeah. That co-op. I don't know. I don't think it's single player. And ultimately the main goal is
Now that looks pretty sweet. Now the one game that you did feature earlier, the dungeon crawler hack and slash, reminds me of Diablo.
Dungeons Deep.
But yeah,
I haven't played the demo yet, but there is a demo. I downloaded it.
Yeah, but it's like it seems like a Diablo but 3D instead of isometric, because I saw like the mana and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, just took me like, I was sitting here, I'm like, what the fuck? I know the name of this game, and so yeah, it took me 10 minutes to remember that it was. Oh yeah, no, it's Diablo. Jesus Christ, dude, you're old man. It
does give Diablo vibes. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
All right,
But
last
this looks
thing,
great
and
too.
then I gotta wrap it up. Last thing reminds me of 40K Darktide. Yeah, it does. It does. Okay, so I downloaded this demo as well. So this is another one of those games that uses artificial intelligence, and I guess you're supposed to talk to an astronaut that is trapped and help them to survive.
Can you hear me, Major Tom?
Whispers from the Star.
You'll stay with me, right? I made it. I am running out of time. You got any ideas? Forever. Just me and you?
Interesting.
For Waifu Simulator. Space
Yeah.
Waifu Simulator. Whispers
Yeah.
in from the Star. You can download the demo on Steam as well if you're interested. And basically you just use your voice and talk to her, and you have to like work together to I guess escape.
Right.
Survive an alien planet through AI driven conversations. Guide her through the mysteries, share your secrets, and see where her story takes you together. So
Yeah. Space waifu.
Yeah,
Nothing
that's what
wrong
it
with
seems
that.
like. Okay. Anyway, this has gone a little bit over. I want an AI game with a character I could take seriously. Well, I mean, this is still very early days on the AI stuff, but I do think that there's like a lot of potential there. Hopefully we'll get like AI games where you have a bro and you like do shit together, but I don't know, we'll see. All right, anyway, so we're gonna wrap it up there. We've gone a little over time, but real quick, John, where can people find you?
Well, always throughout the week. And the next place you'll see me, Will the Fans' channel tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern. We will do WTF Live TARDIS, Time in Red Dwarf in Space. So covering next few episodes in season 3. And of course, always there Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at that time. Otherwise, I hang out with Toasty in the evenings. We have moved the show back to 8 p.m. Eastern. We had a really fun time last night. And we were, we might have been, talking about the Merslunty and all of her recent antics and whatnot. But hey, that was the thing that got us to the dance, so we're continuing with it. But Toasty and I throughout the week, Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern. Of course, I'm here with you on the weekends at this time. Other than that, I'm just more often than not just spending my time playing Death Stranding and avoiding any kind of drama or any kind of insanity that goes with being in the online creator space. But great show today. I think we had some awesome conversations as we always do here, and thank you everybody who joined us throughout the duration in the chat. Greatly appreciate you spending time with us on whatever platform you choose to watch. But with that said, safe travels ahead. Y'all have a wonderful weekend going forward. Of course, be awesome as always.
All right, I want to echo that sentiment. I mean, you guys could be anywhere and you're here, so I appreciate that. Really do. And makes me like want to just keep doing stuff like this and talking about these things and sharing the things that I love and trying to stay positive. So thanks, guys. Oh, by the way, too, I was gonna say another demo that I'm gonna check out that I have is Mars Attracts. I don't know if you guys remember when I showed that one off. It's essentially a what do you call it? A theme park kind of simulator, but you're the Martians from Mars Attacks, and you create.
That sounds actually pretty great.
It's hilarious. It's great. I'll definitely stream myself playing it, but you guys can download that. That's also on Steam. There's a demo available now. Mars Attracts. It's great if you like that movie, and I love that movie. I love Mars Attacks, so I think it's great. But thank you guys so much for coming on the show. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications, leave me a comment, let me know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today, and please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on this week's episode of Week in Culture, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Long live Vivian.
With the glass ceiling broken, all the oppressed groups shall prosper, especially the most oppressed group of all, gamers.
I want people in the industry to be a little bit louder about people being mean to other people, and maybe say it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe say we don't want you around if you're going to be a cunt.
Yeah.
And hateful. And that the games industry is diverse naturally. Not because anyone's making them be diverse, because the world is diverse, you stupid motherfucker. And if you have a problem with that, come fight me. Physically, bitch.
Has anyone taken you up on that yet?
No, because they're all pussies.
Yep.
Down here, salt is a way of life.
Obviously, the environment down here is all salt. The ceiling's salt, the floor is salt, the walls are salt, and to an extent, the air is salt. And you breathe that in, and you can constantly taste the salt.